Russia received $2.6 billion worth of electronic components from April to November 2022. This data was provided by Reuters news agency. Among these goods are computer chips from a number of American companies that have been found in Russian weapons systems. Reuters journalists, together with the Royal United Services Institute, investigated and restored the global supply chain that provides technology to the Russian Federation. One of them brought to Turkey the company Azur International, its founder, Göktürk Avgaz. Starting from March of this year, his company has been exporting components worth at least $20 million to Russia.
Azur International's rapidly growing business didn't come from a standing start, Reuters reporting shows. Avgaz manages a wholesaler of IT products in Germany called Smart Impacts GmbH. Before the invasion, Russia custom records show that the German company shipped American and other products to a Moscow customer that recently has imported goods from Azur International. Avgaz told Reuters that Smart Impacts stopped exporting to Russia to comply with EU trade restrictions, but sells to Turkey, a non-EU country that doesn't enforce most of the West's sanctions against Moscow. Steve Steklow, David Gauthier-Villers, and Maurice Taman, investigators for Reuters news agency.
Investigators have identified a number of importers who continue to supply electronics to Russia in circumvention of sanctions. In addition to Turkey, there were deliveries from Hong Kong and other regions, including the EU, the newspaper writes. In particular, the Elmect Trade Company, located in Tallinn, is engaged in the import of analog devices chips. From April to October, according to Russian customs data, the firm shipped at least $17 million worth of goods to Russia.
Elmect Trade's general manager Alexander Fomenko told Reuters that his company buys its products through official channels, follows all legal requirements and complies with all sanctions and export restrictions. Asked how his company could continue to export analog devices and other Western chips months after the manufacturers announced they had suspended sales to Russia, he said that the majority were orders placed last year. The shipments were delayed because of pandemic-related transit disruptions, he said. Analog devices didn't respond to requests for comment. Steve Steklow, David Gauthier-Villers, and Maurice Taman, investigators for Reuters news agency.
Intel, AMD and Infineon companies told the agency that they supply with all export restrictions and demanded that partners stop deliveries to Russia. Texas Instruments also said that since the end of February they stopped supplying electronics to Russia.
The custom records, which Reuters purchased from 3 commercial providers, don't identify the precise type of semiconductors and other electronic products, nor do they show what happens to the components once they arrive in Russia. Reuters reported in August that Western companies mass-produced chips, in many cases not subject to export restrictions, have shown up inside missiles and weapon systems the Russian military has deployed in Ukraine. Steve Steklow, David Gauthier-Villers, and Maurice Taman, investigators for Reuters news agency.
According to military expert Ivan Stupak, buying chips through third countries is one of the schemes used by Russia to circumvent sanctions and obtain components. Therefore, the Russians buy household appliances made in the Commonwealth of Independent State countries, in particular from Armenia and Kazakhstan, in order to disassemble them later and get microchips used for the production of weapons.
Поэтому придумали вот эту вот схему, когда
Therefore, they came up with this scheme. Various devices, gadgets, or the parts themselves are brought from Armenia, Kazakhstan, China, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, the United States, and Europe. That is, these paths are constantly worked out and improved.
To prevent components from getting into Russia, control is necessary. According to the expert, it is not enough just to impose sanctions.
тут уже надо, знаете, больше давать им.
Here you have to give more food for thought. If you are contacted for the purpose of delivering to Armenia, pay attention to this. This is a country of risk, for example. That is, they will have to pay attention. Well, this is work. It is constantly necessary to pay the attention of these companies, because their main task is to produce high-quality products, produce on time and sell as profitably as possible. That's all.
According to Reuters, the US authorities have charged 5 Russians and 2 US citizens with conspiring to buy military technology for the Russian defense sector to circumvent sanctions. One of the Russians is believed to be a Federal Security Service officer. 3 of this group, 1 citizen of the Russian Federation and 2 citizens of the United States, are in custody, while 4 Russians are still at large. Reported by Roman Smoler, Natalia Belokudria, UATV News.